Al Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Gittin, starting a new Masechet, Daf Bet Amud Aleph, 2A1. It says over here as follows: Hamevi get mimdinat hayam. If somebody's going to bring a get from the diaspora, which means that obviously we're talking about in Israel, you're in the diaspora, and all of a sudden somebody brings a get. So therefore, if you're bringing it from a far-off place, you have to say that it was written in front of me and signed in front of me. Why? Because by saying b'fanai nichtav, in front of me it was written, or in front of me it was signed, then what happens is that we actually understand that what? That it was going to be done lishma. It was done for the purpose of a get. Rabbi Gamliel says, even if you're going to bring from Rekem and Chegev, these are places which are very close to Israel, still you have to say b'fanai nichtav u'fanai nechtam. Rabbi Eliezer says, afilu mikfar ludim lelod. Even if you're talking about from Kfar Ludim, which is outside of the border of Israel, to Lod, which is on the inside of Israel, also you have to say it. Which means basically it's like a general rule. Outside of Israel, inside of Israel. The second that it's going to be like that, you must say it. V'chachamim omenim. And the chachamim say, v'chachamim omenim. So chachamim come and they say that when we're talking about now Rekem and Cheger and Kfar Ludim, you do not have to say, but rather if you're bringing it from Medinat Hayam to Israel, or a molich from taking from Israel, right, to Medinat Hayam. So the rabbis are arguing on the two latter cases. One more time. According to everybody, if you're bringing it from Medinat Hayam, you have to say b'fanai nechtam, b'fanai nechtam. The machloket is going to be from Rekem and Cheger, right, which are very close to Israel, right, to Israel, or from Kfar Ludim lelod, that according to Rabbi Eliezer, right, you do have to say it, and according to Rabbi Gamliel, you have to say it from Rekem and Cheger, and Chachamim, they argue. Next, what happens if you're going to bring it from one country to another country? From Spain to France, France to England. It's from one Medinat Hayam, one Medina to another Medina, in Medinat Hayam. Tzaddik Shomar, you have to say b'fanai nechtam, b'fanai nechtam. Rashbag Omer, Rabban Shimon Gamliel says, afilu me'gemonia le'gemonia, even from one shilton to another shilton, which means like from one district to another district. So sometimes you have like a city which is divided by different districts. So they also have to say b'fanai nechtav u'fanai nechtam. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says now, this is still in the Mishnah. Remember the Mishnah is the full amud. Okay? Merekem lamizrach verekem kamizrach. When we say rekem until the end of the world is considered Medinat Hayam, and rekem itself is considered like the mizrach, meaning it's not considered like Eretz Yisrael. So obviously Rabbi Yehuda is going like who? Like Rabban Gamliel. Because Rabban Gamliel just said, Mina Rekem, right, which is close to Eretz Yisrael, you still have to do so. Okay? So he comes and he says over here, Me'ashkelon ladarom. So now basically what we're doing is we're giving you the dimensions, or not the dimensions, how do you call it? The perimeters of Israel. What is considered Eretz Yisrael to do with B'fanai nechtam? So he comes and he says the border. So he says Ashkelon to the south, and Ashkelon is in itself considered the south and not considered part of Eretz Yisrael. Me'ako latzafon, Akko to the north, ve'ako katzafon, and Akko itself is considered not part of Eretz Yisrael. This is all the shita of Rabbi Yehuda. So we basically just gave you the four, right, the different, right, in order to know where exactly is Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Meir argues, Rabbi Meir says, Akko is like Eretz Yisrael to do with Gittin, and therefore if you bring it from Akko, you do not need to say b'fanai nechtav, u'fanai nechtam. Okay, the last part of the Mishnah, Hamevi get be'eretz Yisrael. What happens if you bring it in Israel in itself? So therefore, you don't need to bring it. You don't need to say because they didn't institute such a thing. However, though, what happens now if you have people that are going against it, which means people that are coming and they are saying that there's a problem with the get. So then all you have to do is you have to verify it with the signatures, and once you verify it with signatures, it's going to be okay. Says the Gemara.
That portion is within Israel.
My ta'ama, what is the reasoning why we have this Mishnah that you have to say b'fanai nichtav, b'fanai nechtam? What's the concept? Why do you have to say it? So Rabba comes and he says, bet amubet, to be, it's to be or not to be, yeah? Lefi she'en beki'in lishma. Because people in the Medinat Hayam, they're not experts in that it has to be done lishma. What is lishma? L'shem ha'isha, right? L'shem ha'isha she'ba'ala rotza, meaning it has to be for her, specifically for her. And therefore, if it wasn't done lishma, it's going to be pasul, right? And you can't divorce it. So therefore, in order to ascertain whether it's going to be lishma or not, If they come and they say, it means that it was written in front of us, they could attest that it was done lishma. So as I already told you, right, this was the introduction that we said. If you come right now and you want to say, you know what? Somebody, John Doe, wrote a get for Jan Doe.
Jan Doe.
John Doe, no?
John Doe, Jan Doe.
John Doe and Jan Doe. Yeah. So what happens is John and Jan, right? So what happens is that if right now he wrote the get for her, and all of a sudden now John Doe says, you know what? I don't want to divorce my wife. No, it's not a good idea. Why? I'm going to lose too much money. It's not a good investment. I'll have to pay another 3 million or whatever it is, right? It's not a good idea. So what does he do? Right? All of a sudden he knows that there's another John Doe in the city. And he already knows that he also has a lot of problems with Shalom. So he comes to him, he says, you know what, here, take it. John Doe to Jan Doe, right? You have it, that's it. You can't do it. Why? It wasn't Lishma. It has to be for her sake. Okay, very important. That's the first answer. Since they're not Bekin Lishma, you have to say, next answer number 2. Rava says, you know why you have to say because what happens right now, if they're going to come to Israel, and all of a sudden somebody's going to say, you know what, this document is false. How do you verify the signatures? It came from Honolulu. Nobody in Israel knows what's going on. So therefore, if the person comes from the diaspora and he says, brings the document, and he says, it's already like a verification. We verified it. So ask the Gemara, my benai, what's the practical difference between Rabba and Rava, right? What's the practical difference between them? Ike benayu, the difference between them is going to be that you betre, if 2 people bring it from Dinat Hayam, which means if he sends 2 people to be a shaliach, according to Rabba, you still have to say because even if you have 2 people, you still have to verify it's going to be lishma. But according to Rava, you don't need to verify it's lishma, because lishma was never the question. It was just to verify the signatures. You have 2 witnesses. You can verify the signatures. So they don't have to say all they have to do is just verify the signatures. Inami, another practical difference between the 2 different answers, from one place to another place in Israel in itself. Why? Because if you're going to tell me like from Yudal to the Galil, remember that Israel was like split into 3 different like districts, right? You had the Yudah, the Galil, right, and everything, right? So here it says, according to Rabbi, you don't have to say why? Because in Israel, everybody's experts in Lishma. But according to that one, that you needed witnesses to verify their signatures, it was very difficult to pass through one place to another. It wasn't that simple. Right? You have to remember any type of travel in the olden days was very, very difficult. Inami, a third answer, in the same Medina. Why? If you're going to tell me for sure you have to say it. Why? Because in Chutz La'aretz, in the diaspora, they're not always experts in Lishma. However, though, to do it in the same Medinat Hayam, in the same Medinat Hayam, you have witnesses that are able to come and verify the signatures. So if you have witnesses that are able to verify the signatures because they're living in the same place, so for there's not going to be a problem. So because of that, that's why you would not need to say it according to Rabba, but you would need to say it according to Rabba. Until here we're clear? Mm-hmm. Fine. Says the Gemara, Ul Rabba de Amar, and according to Rabba, that he says that the reason why you have to say is the Fishem Bekin Lishma, but they're not going to be Baki, experts in Lishma. Libayetre. You should need 2 witnesses to testify, right, on it. One second. Imagine right now, I'm coming to Israel, and I bring a get. What am I saying? This get is for Mr. John Doe, yeah, that he's going to divorce Jan Doe, yeah? So what happens? I come and I say, 1 second. What am I saying? I'm testifying that it's Lishma, that it was written Lishma. Why don't you need 2 witnesses? Why in the world all of a sudden here it's enough with 1 witness? You should always need 2 witnesses. Every testimony in the Torah, you need 2 witnesses. Why all of a sudden here is it going to be 1 witness? Answers the Gemara, here he says 1 witness is going to be believed by Isurim. For example, right, when we're talking about Afrashat Truma, Shchita, or other Isurim, to do with Kashrut and all those things, it's enough 1 witness. So therefore, the Shaliach is going to be believed, even though he's only 1 witness, to testify that she's going to be permitted to everybody. So says the Gemara, which what does that mean? What should it be? There's an Isur, Eshetish. She's a married woman. Now you're permitting an Eshetish to the world. Yeah? Makes sense or not? One more time.
Sorry, but
I did answer the question. So basically, it's an Isur. What's an Isur? If I have a piece of meat in front of me, am I allowed to eat it? No. You tell me it's kosher, I'm allowed to eat it. So it's called Ed Echad Ne'eman B'Isurim. Here you have this woman, she's prohibited. The guy comes, he brings the get. He says that it was written lishma. Now she's permitted to get married to anybody that she wants. Says the Gemara, Eimar de Amlinan. When do we say edechanema misurin? Kigon chaticha, for example, a piece of meat that we have a safek shel chelev, safek shel shuman. Whenever we have a doubt if it's kosher or not kosher, if it's chelev, the prohibited fats, or shuman, the permitted fats, there's no chazaka in isur. Meaning, if I see a piece of meat right here, whoever said that it's a isur bichlal, that you're cutting and you're taking out of an isur. Here, in this case of the woman, she has a chazaka. The case of the piece of meat, I'm clueless. This piece of meat, what is it now? Parve. What does it mean parve? I don't know whether it's a sur. I don't know whether it's mutar. One witness comes and he tells me that piece of meat, which is parve, because I don't know what it is, it's mutar. One witness comes and takes it to the chazkat heter. So one witness can do that. But what happens if I knew that it was not kosher? And all of a sudden one witness comes and says, no, it's kosher. Can I say, beautiful. It has a chazakah that it's not kosher. You can't take out of chazakah with one witness. Same thing, this woman is an eshetish. How with one guy do you take him out of the chazakah that she's going to be fined, right? Therefore, since you have a chazakah of an isur of an eshetish, it's a davar sheberva. Then davar sheberva pachom mishnayim. It becomes something of immorality. Remember, erva means that she's prohibited unto everybody in the world because she's a married woman. And once it's davar sheberva, and davar sheberva pachom mishnayim. There's no such thing as davar sheberva less than two witnesses. So for here, you need two witnesses. So if you're going to tell me that the entire reason was because of bikin lishma, which means that you have to be experts in lishma, why in the world is one person going to be believed? Answers the Gemara, no, rov bikinhem. The majority of people, be'emet, they are experts. They know, that means the majority of people that are going to write a get, they know that it has to be lishma. Majority, right? You already have a rov. But even according to Rabbi, that Rabbi always suspects for the minority, the majority of the sofrim, which are the majority of the people that are writing the gets, they know, right? But it was the rabbis that required that the get should be written lishma, because maybe the husband found the get, and then he went and he gave it over, right? And he wants to divorce his wife. And here, because of an aguna, the rabbis were lenient. What does that mean? Basically, what happens is, one more time, the Gemara says the majority of Jews are experts that it needs to be lishma. And even according to Rabbi Meir, that we suspect for the minority, he says the stam sofrim, they're also experts in lishma. So it's like not even a minority of a minority, because even the majority of the sofrim, the majority of Jews already know that it has to be lishma. Forget about the majority of the Jews, even the minority that don't know, the majority of the, so it's like two majorities you have. Like you have the majority of the Jews plus the majority of the sofrim, right? So which are the ones that are writing the get. Not everyone could just write a get. So therefore he says, we don't need to say it at all. Why? It probably is lishma. Then what happened? No. The rabbis came and they said that, you know what, maybe the husband just found in the garbage, right? John Doe, right? He went to the garbage bin, right? He was passing by the bedin, and all of a sudden he sees a nice scroll. He opens it up. It's a get. Oh, wow. This is the name of the husband. This is it. They match, right? Perfect. He comes and wants to get divorced. So because of that, maybe he found it. The rabbis came and they said, you know what? We want to make sure that it's lishma. It was written for him and for her. So you should need two witnesses. He says, no. Because of iguna, kilu v'rabbanan. Because of iguna, we don't want her to stay in iguna for the rest of her life. So for the rabbis were lenient.